Hello, my beautiful brothers and sisters. We are approaching the end of the White Overtone Wizard year. We have entered the crystal month, the 12th month. So I think it's about time I shared with you guys what this year was all about. If you remember, 4 years ago in the video 26th of July, New Year of the White Magnetic Wizard, I mentioned that being a magnetic year, we are entering a 13-year cycle anchored in the wizard's energy. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go watch the video The Structure of Wave Spells, keeping in mind that this calendar being a fractal, the wave spell pattern can be applied over 13 years instead of 13 days. So this year we returned to the guide of this 13-year cycle of the White Wizard, which began in 2019. This is this year's kin, White Wizard in the middle, White Wind as the guide due to the overtone, Blue Hand the hidden power, Red Serpent the complement, and Yellow Seed the challenge. White Wizard is the shaman who teaches us mastery of the underworlds, which represent our unconscious mind, so we can discover the magic within and attune to the voice of our heart and its infinite wisdom. He takes us on a journey, opening us to experience the timeless awareness beyond our human perception, but this journey is filled with challenges which are meant to strip away the structures of our ego so we can understand how we are the creators of our own suffering. And I gotta say, this perfectly describes my journey in my last relationship, which actually began during the White Magnetic Wizard year in the resonant month. For 4 years I have been journeying deep into my personal underworld, crawling through the deepest, most darkest parts within me, getting lost in my unconscious patterns that were keeping me stuck in a relationship that was not good for me. I was in purgatory for a long period of the relationship, and it made me face my deepest shadows. And I know that I'm just as much responsible for the suffering I endured as much as he is. Him for inflicting that suffering, me for somehow feeling as if it's what I deserved. But White Wizard comes to empower us, to help us see that everything lies within, and we have the power to transform our existence from within. White Wizard makes us aware of how our thoughts, beliefs, emotions, and conditionings are shaping our reality, and he empowers us to take back our power, becoming the conscious creators instead of being a victim of our circumstances. And this is what I did this year. I took my power back. I admitted to myself that I deserve so much more than this. And like I mentioned in my previous video, it was the Yellow Seed wave spell which catalyzed this entire process. Yellow Seed being the challenge of this year, and the reason it's the challenge is because it pushes us to take responsibility for how our inner and outer landscapes look, and thus challenging us to take back our power. Because if it's all our responsibility, that means that we also are the ones who have the power to change our life and change our circumstances. And I want to clarify that the fact that we are the creators of our own suffering is in no way meant to be an excuse for people to abuse us. Caution here, many people in the spiritual field might try to use spiritual concepts such as this as an excuse for their own toxic behavior. What I mean by all of this is kind of like what I shared about my own personal experience. I was choosing to be in an abusive dynamic because of all the shadows that were keeping me stuck there, but it was an abusive dynamic, no question there. The fact that we do create our own suffering doesn't excuse any kind of toxic or abusive behavior, especially not from people who consider themselves to be spiritual. So that being said, back to this year's energy. The empowering vibe of this year is also in alignment with the overtone, which is quite literally the tone of empowerment. So the overtone, the fifth lunar tone, the bar represents the manifestation of the individualized human being, pushing us to incarnate and have this individualized human experience. It's the power of consciousness that travels within so that we can become aware of the totality of who we are. And once we do, our consciousness begins vibrating in harmony with itself, but at a higher pitch, creating an overtone. And this is actually where the name comes from. So being an overtone year, we are supported to connect with our core purpose, to accept the full spectrum of our humanity, and it empowers us to realize our destiny. And when we begin walking the path of our destiny, we begin walking the path of the heart, the beauty way, surrendering to the landscape of life as Blue Hand, the hidden power, teaches us to do. It teaches us to go with the flow, surrendering to the universe to guide us. And since my breakup, all I do is go with the flow, with my intuition, my instincts, and it's been amazing. And speaking of instincts, we have the red serpent, the guide to the instinctual part within our consciousness, as the complement. You've heard me say this many times, how whenever this guy pops up, it means that the body will be speaking to us more loudly than before, which is what I've witnessed happening all around me. Many people had lots of health issues this year. I also experienced some minor issues. But something very powerful I felt from the red serpent this year is his connection to our instinctual wisdom. I really felt his energy supporting me to be more present and to listen to my body and its signals, supporting me to act more on what I feel, not what I think, to go with that gut instinct without questioning. And it made me realize that my instincts are holy, and so are yours and everybody else's. Because honestly, I saw the red flags from the beginning. My instincts were telling me that something wasn't okay in this relationship. But as they say, love is blind, my friends, and I really allowed myself to be blinded. But now that I'm back on track and I'm once again following my instincts, actually no, I feel that I'm actually doing it better than before. In the past, I was still a little afraid to go with that gut instinct, doubting it. Now I'm all about that gut feeling. And because of this, I'm always right where I need to be. And this year, White Wind, the messenger of the Great Spirit, is the guide. So it was a lot about learning how to manifest our spiritual wisdom, our soul's wisdom, and how to surrender to it. But also, White Wind ushers in a new beginning, giving a new direction to our human life, which again is exactly what I feel happened to me. He comes and asks us to be free of any restrictions which keep us stagnating so that we can move free like the wind. He brings in a deep need for freedom, shattering all the inner and outer limitations, setting things in motion in a very profound and powerful way. He also comes to shatter the inner duality so that we can unify the different parts within our being, helping us remember our deepest nature so that we can incarnate it from the tiniest cell within our body to the highest level of our consciousness. So by acting with honesty and spontaneity, by listening to our heart's guidance and the guidance of the universe, and by embracing the freedom of our soul, we become a magician, a wizard, a conduit for the work of divinity, God, spirit, or however we want to call and name the invisible essence behind all life. This way, magic simply begins to flow through us. And I also want to point out that this year we are in the White Dog Wave spell, which White Dog represents the power of unconditional love, and this, I feel, is the medicine this world needs the most. It was definitely the medicine that my soul needed in order to get out of this relationship. Unconditional self-love and self-acceptance. White Dog's message is one of loyalty towards our heart and truth, teaching us to listen to our soul's wishes hidden underneath our programmed emotional reactions, allowing us to accept, understand, and heal our reactive patterns. Through this healing, he opens us up to new beginnings, changing our perception of reality. So yeah, this has been my experience so far this year. I've taken my power back. I've reattuned to the voice of my heart, which was kind of silenced during these 4 years of relationship because it was the only way to stay there. And since the breakup, I feel like I'm once again tapping into the magic of life. I can see the beauty and magic everywhere around me again. And I couldn't, not for a long while. Truth be told, I was depressed for over 2 years, and life simply lost all of its magic and its spark. But I'm finding it again, and it really does feel like a deep rebirth that I'm going through. And I feel that despite all the hurt and the pain, I went through a deep journey of self-discovery because, hey, I was dating a blue knight, and they're really good at seeing the shadows of others, though they kind of suck at seeing their own shadows. This is actually one of their shadow aspects that I discovered due to this relationship. So I really did the inner work. I worked on the patterns that he brought to the surface. I actually grew and was super proud of myself. So I've made it to the other side more wiser and more self-aware, with a better understanding of how to deal with my anger in a healthy way, and more attuned to my intuition and my body. And definitely with a much deeper understanding of Blue Knight's shadow aspects. So I'm curious, how did your self-empowerment journey look like this year? Where were you giving your power away, and how did you get it back? You can leave a comment if you feel like sharing. So that's it for today. As always, any questions you have about the Dreamspell calendar, or to book a galactic signature decoding session to explore the energy that your soul has chosen to embody in this lifetime, or to order your Dreamspell Pendant, send me a message either on my Facebook, my Instagram, or my email. Until the next time, wishing you an empowering day. In Lak'Ech.